Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Webinar Wednesday. My name is Ria Stark. I'm the Digital Engagement Manager here at TLC. And last week, we demonstrated our latest mobile app, TLC Go, with more of an emphasis on how it could be used in a public library setting. Today, we're looking forward to showcasing it more from the K-12 school district perspective. So we're hoping you're looking forward to that. If you did miss last week's webinar and are interested in watching it, it is available on our website at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. However, you don't need to have seen that. If you're here today for the first time, welcome. We're so glad to have you. It wasn't a prerequisite. It was just kind of a different perspective of how we're presenting the app. So today is all about the school's focus. So some context, TLC recently partnered with Solus UK to provide an elegant, feature-rich mobile app. It is available today for customers of any TLC integrated library system, including Library.Solution for schools. And joining us again is Andrew Daye, the Chief Technology Officer for Solus. He's going to highlight the elegant and feature-rich functionality that is well-suited for schools. But before I hand over the mic to him, we do have a few housekeeping items to go over. The first thing, all of our webinars are recorded, yes, including this one. You can watch it starting tomorrow at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. You'll also receive an email reminder letting you know when it's available. We did get several requests last week asking for the recording to be able to share with their colleagues. That is available, and this one will be available tomorrow as well. The second point is that throughout the presentation today, if you have any questions, please do add them into the questions panel. We had a lot of questions last time, and we do appreciate being able to answer those for you. So if you think of something, please go ahead and add it into the questions section, and we'll address those at the end of the presentation. And then finally, before you log out today, please be sure to download those handouts that are available for you. If you want to know more information, we will have a poll at the end that asks if we can reach out to you. But in the meantime, those handouts are a great place to start and get more info today. All right, so Andrew, thank you so much for joining us again here for TLC's Webinar Wednesday. How are you doing over there in Scotland?
All good here. It's pretty temperate. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's winter, so all happy, and it's pretty clear skies. So when the sun's
Sounds a
shining
lot
during
better
the
than
day,
where I'm
can't
at.
complain. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, go ahead and kick us off and let's see what you've got for TLC Go.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for having me. We'll get straight into this. So TLC Go is a library app for patrons or students of your library, and it can be downloaded onto your iOS device, an iPhone, iPad, etc., or an Android device, be that a phone or a tablet. And it's a really great way of interacting with your library through your mobile device. So Solus, we've been around for around 10 to 15 years. We now have quite a few apps deployed worldwide. This slide is already out of date. We're, I think, 426 now, which is even higher than it was when we were talking last week. So we've had another couple of apps go live, which is great. And that covers around 7,000 library locations around the world. Those are predominantly in US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, but we have a few in other parts of the world as well, a few in Chile and Peru, and some more on the European continent. So we currently have around 70 apps right now in implementation. So those apps that are in testing and ready and getting ready to go live. And the app itself has been in development now for a good 10 years. So it's been a fun ride, and it's constantly changing, and we're constantly developing it. So the app itself you'll get from the App Store if you're on an iOS device, or from the Play Store if you're on an Android device. So just to show you that process, let's have a quick look as to how that works. So I go into the App Store. I may search for my library or my school district. So this case is Blue Valley School Libraries. And as you can see, that's Blue Valley School Libraries in the App Store, and it's being offered by the Blue Valley School District. It's not being offered by Solus, it's not being offered by TLC. There's no third party in the way between you and your user base. So we open the app on the store, and it's the school district branding that you see in the app. They've got a pretty dark branding, I've got to say. It's but that's their choice with their branding and their color schemes. And when the app first opens up, it's a fairly basic set of content, and that then allows the borrower to type in their borrower number and PIN, or however you authenticate with your library. So I'm just going to quickly switch over to a test app that we have that's got some more content in there. And this is a TLC Go demo app that we have. So we've got a few things in here that I want to quickly run through with you. So catalog search, obviously the most basic that we see right at the top. I can search for anything that we have in the catalog. I'll keep to type here. Being Scottish, I'm going to have to obviously search for the Scottish play and see if the library has that in stock. So I can see they've got the book in stock there. I can place a hold. I can see the copies. I can see details. I can do an author search from there, etc., etc. We see the total results, and then we have additional facets and filters that we can apply. Now, if that was an electronic title that had a Mark 856 record, then instead of place hold, it would have a link directly out to the e-content vendor or the online resource vendor to take you straight to that item within their environment. And how that works depends on the e-content vendor. If it's one that has an app, then it may take them straight through to the app. If it's one that doesn't have an app, or just how they configure that, it may take them to the website. So that really is vendor dependent. As well as searching, I can also scan an ISBN barcode. So if I'm in a bookstore or somewhere where there's a range of books, I can scan the ISBN on the back of the book and see if that's available in the library as well. So that's a really neat feature for just being able to open up the camera within the app and scanning that barcode. We can, as a library administrator, define a set of carousels. So I've got a few different items showing here. The user can obviously tap on any of those items and go straight to that particular title. So these are the January staff picks. I can hit more, and you can see there's a few other carousels that have been defined in there. Right now, that would be bibliographic IDs. You would take a list of those, or ISBNs. We are looking at other options for pulling in your existing pre-canned OPAC carousels directly into the app as well, so you don't have to do that work twice. So you can automatically pull those feeds into the app. I've got a pinned notice on there, the emergency notice, the library is closed. All these sections here are fully configurable and customizable by the library in our content management system, which is a web-based content management system that allows the library administrator to manage all of the content, everything within the app. I'll come back to these sections in a little bit, but what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to sign into my account here. So I simply type in my barcode number and PIN, because that's what this has been configured for. If you use passwords, that's also supported, or if you have usernames, that's also supported within the app. If you have member barcodes, then we can scan that barcode and pre-fill out the barcode box in the login dialog. So I'm going to sign in. What this is then doing is it's connecting to our server, which is communicating with the library.solution for schools, and it's authenticating that borrower. So the app, neither the app nor the app server at the back end has any data or stores any information about the patron account. All of that is always, as it has always been, stored within your ILS. And with every action that we take within the app, or any data that we display in the app, it's always pulled live in real time from the ILS. Now I've signed in, my barcode appears at the bottom of the screen. If I tap on that, I can see my barcode. That could be scanned on a kiosk if you have self-check kiosks, or an optical barcode scanner at an issue desk, rather than having to have individual cards. If you tap on it, it will actually also copy your barcode number onto the clipboard. So if you want to paste it into a website, it's always there, ready for you, always in your pocket. So if I go back into the hamburger menu, into my account screen, I can see my checkouts, I can see my holds. If I have anything checked out, I can renew that checkout. I can go into that item itself. We also have a linked accounts feature here, so you can have multiple accounts signed in at the same time. and those are listed under linked accounts. So there's no linkages really within the ILS that we're picking up here. What we're actually doing is just allowing people to sign in with multiple accounts on the same device. There are a number of different scenarios for that. It could be family accounts in public libraries or elder care, or if you have a staff member that wants to sign in for multiple students, then you can do as well. You do also need their PIN number or their password, so there's no bypass in terms of control over those accounts. You still need to have the PIN number or password. You need whatever would be required to authenticate on a different device to add them as a linked account. But that's what we're then seeing under checkouts. We're seeing those other accounts there, but they don't have anything checked out. If I have anything on hold, I can also cancel that hold or amend that hold. I can place holds on items that I've found in the catalog, both for myself and any linked accounts that I have signed in. I'm not sure this is entirely relevant within Library.Solution for schools, but if you have any fines or indeed charges, if there was anything you charged for within your library service, then those would obviously be visible within the app here. If you have your account signed in on multiple devices, so let's say you've got an iPhone, you've got an iPad, and you've got it signed on both devices, but you lose your iPad or it's stolen or what have you, something happens to that device, and you don't want that device to be able to access your account anymore, then you can simply deactivate or deauthorize that remote device. So without having to change your PIN number or your password, because we know they can be a hassle, you can simply deauthorize that other device from any other device that's signed in to your account. If I go to preferences, this is a really neat feature of the app where I, as a user, can decide what's the most important thing to me in terms of the content on the home screen of the app. So actually, for me, I think the school calendar is the most important, followed by today's announcements. So I can simply tap and drag those items up to the top. And if I now hit back and go back to the home screen, you can see that school calendar and today's announcements are almost the top of the list there. And the reason they're not is that emergency notice is actually a pinned tab. So when you're creating tabs in the system, as a library administrator, you can create the items and you can order them to be the default order. The patron or the user is able to override that and create their own order. But as a library administrator, if you want to make something topmost because it's really important, such as the library is closed, then you can pin that tab and that will always be at the top. And you'll have noticed in the preferences screen, there was no option to change that or to move that particular tab. So we've got those announcements, school calendar on there, and I, as a user, have full control over that. The system also supports multiple languages. So our system has 24, 25, I think, different distinct languages supported within the platform. And those include translations for all of the built-in text within the app. So all the different the built-in menus, so the account menus, all the various different sections of the app, that's all translated. The CMS also allows you to easily translate any text that you enter. So if you're creating tabs, creating content, you can click a little flag button and get an automatic translation for the different languages that you support. So in this app, we've only chosen 8 different languages to support, but the system has 25, and you as a library administrator can then choose which languages you want the app to provide to the users. And if the device is set to a different language by default, so let's say one of our students has a device that's set to Spanish as the default language on the device, and we've enabled the Spanish language, then it will automatically load up in Spanish the first time they open the app when they've just installed it from the store. So they don't have to make that choice. They can obviously go in and change that preference if they want the TLC Go app to run in English, even though the rest of the device is Spanish. Absolutely fine. They can go in and change that and override that, but it will default to their device language when you first open the app. So let me go back to the home screen. So these various different tabs allow different messages that you want to give out to your user base. So we've got a couple of different examples here. We've got the school calendar, today's announcements. It can be links to web pages. So if you have a web page you want to show, or let's say you're running a survey, which would be a SurveyMonkey or a Google Sheets or Google Forms, you can link directly to those from the app. It can also be different elements of functionality. So my account is the menu that we popped out there, and that can be a tab on the home screen as well, just to make it more obvious. Not everyone knows that the hamburger icon at the top right is the thing that you press to get account. So we've got a my account tab there as well. If I swipe along, we've got our online resources. So those could be your standard e-content resources, be it Hoopla, Overdrive, Libby, whatever resources that you have that you want to make available through the app. Those can be configured under different sections, and it's fully hierarchical as well. So if you want to create categories and then put different content under the categories as well, then you can do. Student resources, scan barcode, self-check. We'll come back to that a little bit later on. The open hours and address, that's also all configured in the CMS as to when the library opens, the address, and you can also schedule additional content under that location there, along with your contact details, so people can always get in contact with you. Got social media, cafeteria, other school info, etc. You might want to provide a confidential contact form, the safe to say something, or transportation information. All of this can be configured within the app, and you can see that I'm swiping left to right, and that is a design choice that we have within the app as well. And the user can also override that too. So if I scroll down on the preferences screen and change from flow to scroll, and then head back out, we can see it actually changes to a scroll up and down, so a single list to scroll. So that's something you can choose as a library, the default that your app runs with, but the user can override that as well. So if I go into that emergency notice screen, we can see that we've added a message to say the library is closed until further notice due to weather conditions. So let's say we've decided actually we're going to reopen the library on Monday, and that's our further notice. So if we switch over now to the browser, hopefully you can see my browser screen. This is the content management system that we use to manage the content within the app. So if I select mobile apps, oh, I'll have to sign in. Back in, and I select the TLC Go app that we're looking at right now. There's a number of different settings that you can configure, including everything that's on the home screen of that app. So I'm going to select the emergency notice tab, choose to edit the tab, and then it takes me to the place where we can make changes to all the various different sections. So let's just say we want to change the until further notice to until Monday due to weather conditions. So we're going to reopen the library on Monday, and let's say we want to provide something soothing for the users to watch. So I've got a YouTube video here, which is a 2-hour video of snow falling. So if I paste in that YouTube link and then hit enter, it'll actually convert that to a video which is embedded directly into the app. So I'll save that out at the bottom. And if I switch back now to the app and then select the emergency notice tab again, we can see the library is closed until Monday due to weather conditions. And we have a nice, peaceful 2-hour video of relaxing snowfall to watch. So as easy as that, we can edit the content within the app. It could be a web link, it could be videos, it could be PDFs that you link out to. It could also just be content that we edit directly, and then that YouTube link, as you can see how easy it is just to paste in a YouTube link and have that appear in line directly within the app. So nice and simple, nice and quick. As you saw, that was updated in real time the next time we opened that tab. So let's quickly go back to slides that we have here. So that's a really quick run through of the app and some of the features. There's a lot of features in there that I haven't really gone into a great detail with, but as you can see, it's really fully featured app, and it has an excellent integration with library.solution for schools. The content management system allows you to manage that content, manage the language, the text, anything really within the app at any time. And as you saw, the updates are in real time. There's also a click and collect curbside management tool, which we're not even going to talk about today. There's a whole process there for managing your reservations, your holds within the app, and having a contactless pickup service that you can provide to your users using that tool. Lots of languages, as I mentioned, and we can add to that at any time if there's any languages that we don't currently support that you'd love to support because you have a large user base that require that language support. We can add that at any time, and what we would do is we would make those translations available to all of our customers, so every library service that has the app. There's a whole slew of analytics that we also record within the app. Everything's done in a patron privacy friendly way, so nothing that we record is patron specific in terms of reporting on those stats. We record everything that happens, so the different actions are taken, but it's all fully anonymized. And those reports are sent by email on the first of each month to allow you to copy and paste from the reports as an Excel spreadsheet. You can go in at any time and generate reports through the CMS, but on the first of the month, we send out an Excel spreadsheet, which you can copy and paste the tables from. And use them for any internal KPIs or monitoring that you do. And obviously, all the features that you see here have all come out from discussions with libraries such as yourselves to improve the app over the course of the 10 years. And we're obviously committed to keep doing that. And we love getting feedback from libraries. We love adding features to the app, especially ones that really help out your library users. And one of those was an add-on that we have here, which is self-checkout. So in early 2020, we rolled out this new feature, which did require you to be in libraries. Maybe not the best timing to roll that feature out, but it was on the back of Apple opening up some things in iOS back in iOS 13, which was released in 2019. It allowed us to add this feature to the app where we can take our phone, we can tap it on an RFID tag, and we can check out the item directly from the app, and it checks it out against the ILS and deactivates the security if you have security tags, or if you have security on your RFID tags. It deactivates that security, and the user can throw that item in the bag and walk out the door. We also have templates, and this is a really useful feature for both library consortia in public environment, but also in schools where we have a school district that may have the app. And just going back up to the top there, the self-check also works by scanning the item barcode. If you don't have RFID in your libraries, you can just scan the barcode on the item and check out that way as well. It's really flexible depending on how you tag your stock. So a quick fly through of self-check within the app. So I'm signed in to the app here. I don't have anything checked out currently. I tap on the self-check tab within the app. I do have to enable location services, so we use a GPS to ensure that the user is within the library. For check-in, we also use Bluetooth beacons to ensure you're in a specific spot in the library for checking items back in. So if you tap checkout, it will take you to a screen prompting you to check out or put your phone on the tag, and that will then check out the item. In this case, it's something you probably wouldn't want anyone else seeing you checking out. So you check that item out and then you throw it straight in your bag so no one else can see you doing so. A couple of different items out there, checked out, and we finish the checkout. The session's completed, And then we also have that item now in the account menu as a self-check receipt. So self-service receipts. It's in my checkouts, obviously, because it's in my account, but I also have it in my self-service receipts as a point in time receipt of the actions that occurred on that day. So even if you renew it, the information here obviously wouldn't change because that is a receipt of that particular transaction. So obviously not requiring any additional hardware, any big kiosks, or even any small pieces of hardware to deactivate the tags. It's fully on the device. And by a very similar token, we have self-check-in, which is the reverse of that process. So the user taps on checkout, check-in. There's one additional step with the check-in, which I'm just going to pause it very quickly here. So with check-in, we want to ensure that the user is definitely within a specific zone within the library. So we use Bluetooth beacons to set up check-in zones. So you can define it down to they have to be within a few feet of that beacon, or they could be 30, 60, 100 feet from the beacon, depending how big you want to make that check-in zone. The reason to do this is if you do have security gates and you want to ensure that the user is within that security perimeter before they check items in, before it resecures the tag. Also, you may want to make it so that they're right beside a return shelf or a drop box within your library, so the users can return those items, have them cancelled off their account, their library account, and then they can either put them on a shelf if it just needs to go back on the shelf, or they can put it through a Dropbox if there's an action that has to occur with that particular item. So I'll hit play there. We've detected the check-in zone, the check-in beacon. We tap the item and it immediately reactivates the security on the tag, and then it checks it in against the library account. Once we've completed that process, these items don't have any actions required on them, so when we hit finish, you have returned 2 items in this session. There's no additional action messages. And we can see in the self-service receipts and the checkouts. So checkouts, we have nothing checked out on my account. Obviously, great, we've checked it back in. And under self-service receipts, we've then got an additional receipt saying items checked in and the date and time and location that action occurred. So the other thing I want to talk about here is templates. So the reason that we built templates is that we fully recognize that depending, especially in consortia and school districts, when someone signs into the app, what they need to see may be quite considerably different than what someone in a different school or a different library may need to see based on the content that they're seeing, the branding that they are seeing, and all the various different bits of information that go into the app. So if you're a single independent school or college or university, then you would search in the App Store or the Play Store via your school name. So you would find your school in the library, in the App Store, download it, install it, and it would be your school's information that you were seeing. That's it. It's one location, one institution, or one set of branding, one set of content. However, if you are a school district or a consortium, then you would search in the App Store for the district name or the consortium name. And when that's the case, when the app first downloads, it's branded by the name of the district or the consortium. And that's what you would see. You wouldn't see a lot of content usually at the start unless you have content that is common across the whole district. But then once the user signs in, they would then be taken to effectively a totally different app. So we often call this an app within an app. So once you're signed in, you then see a completely different app that can have totally different branding, different content, different terminology, all the language content, even the any circulation options that are configured in CMS can all be completely independent and different between the different templates. So when you have that template option, you would potentially have different schools with their own independent template within the district app. Each school would then have their own independent access to the content management system and the full setup of the app. So as I said, the content, the branding, the color schemes, the language settings, all the labels, everything within the app. And there's a huge different, there's a wide variety of different things that you might want to have in the app, which would be specific to your individual school. So to give you an example of how that looks and how that actually feels when you're using the app, this is the Sales Library Network, which is a consortium of both school and public libraries. So a big mixture there. When I sign in to that app, you can see that we've got sales branding. Sales, it's a white background with a blue text in the app. I type in my barcode number and then my PIN to authenticate. The system then checks ILS, authenticates me, and determines that actually I belong to a library that has its own template. So it then completely reloads the app with a totally different set of content, and you can see the logo of that library at the top, their online resources, their social media feeds, totally separate from the rest of the consortium or school district. So while they're signed in, it will always be your local school or local library that you'll see within the app. So just to give you an idea of some different branding that we can see within the app as well. So there's a few different examples here, and these actually could all be in the same app. So you install the district app or the consortium app, and once the user signs in, it could look as different as this. Totally different branding, different set of content, different icons, etc. Just talking about those icons there, that's all configurable within the CMS as well. And I missed it earlier on when we were looking at the CMS, but each of those icons that you see, like so beside my account or nearest libraries, they actually come from an icon chooser in the CMS, and there are 7,000 different icons you can choose from. You can choose the color scheme that's then applied to that icon. There's your default color in the app, but you can also choose individual colors for individual icons. And the library on the rightmost here actually has white text on a dark color background. So the text color of the tabs can be independently chosen. You saw on the demo app, the emergency notice had the text in red on white rather than the standard black on white, which was the default colors for the app. So all the rest of the tabs had those colors. So a lot of flexibility there, and a lot of really great functionality for consortia, districts with those templates, along with some really groundbreaking functionality such as self-check with RFID in the app. I think that brings us to the end here in terms of functionality, but I just want to quickly run through the implementation process and what you actually do and the actual steps that we take when we're building an app for libraries. So the library or district would need to apply for an Apple developer account. Those are free for non-profits or government organizations. There's no cost involved there. If you're an independent school or weren't classed as a non-profit or government organization, then I think it's $99 a year that Apple charge for that. So it's not a huge fee, but they obviously make a little bit off of every developer in the store. Unfortunately, we can't do that for you anymore because they changed the rules back in 2017. We used to be able to submit the apps on behalf of libraries, but they changed those rules to say that the developer account had to be owned by the person that owned the brand or organizational mark that was the app in the store. So unfortunately, you got to get your own Apple developer account. Google has no such requirements. They don't really care who posts the app. So that's a lot easier. If you have your own Play Store account, then we can submit it under your account, but we don't require you to get one because we can submit them on your behalf. When we get you set up, we ask you to fill out an onboarding questionnaire, which just has a series of questions about the library, asks for your logos, your branding, your color scheme. If you have any branding guidelines, we'll create the app based on that information. We will then also provide you with an Excel spreadsheet, which allows you to enter things like your social media feeds, any news feed, events feeds, any online resources that you want to show within the app as well. And we can import all that at the start rather than having to create it one by one within the CMS. It all gets automatically created when we build that app for you. So we build the app and we provide it for you on Android and iOS, along with the account details to manage that within the content management system that we looked at a few minutes ago. You can download that directly for Android or through TestFlight for iOS. So whilst you're doing this, no one else can access the app at the time. It's not publicly visible within the store. It's purely for your staff and perhaps a set of trusted users that you may want to expand that testing out to test that out and to provide feedback on the app. Typically, we see people will spend between 1 and 4 weeks kicking the tires, changing this and that within the CMS, making changes to content or settings, etc. After you've been through that and you're ready to go, you just say the word and we'll submit that to Google Play and to Apple. Apple have a review process, so typically anything from 48 hours to a week to review the apps. These days it's actually usually between 24 and 48 hours, but we usually suggest that you give us a week just in case Apple are on a go slow for whatever reason. Then once they've reviewed that, they will usually approve it. We've had a couple of times where we've had to go back and forth with Apple. They have some really stringent rules, and some of them are applied very much subjectively. So sometimes there's been some back and forth with Apple. We've never yet had an app that's been declined outright. It's just been to give you a really esoteric example, if you even mention Android or Google Play within an Apple app, an iOS app, it will be rejected out of hand. You're not even allowed to mention the other platform when you're submitting an app to Apple. So you have to make sure that any terminology you have is very neutral if its content is shared between the two apps, the iOS app and the Android app. Yeah, you can't mention the words of the other platform. So some interesting times there. Once they've approved it, it's available in the stores, and we'll provide you with a QR code for promoting the app. You can print it out, you can put it on the signature of your email, you can use it however you wish to promote your app. It's a single QR code that when you scan on the device, it will forward you to either the App Store if you're on an Apple device or the Play Store if you're on an Android device. I can't count the number of times I've seen two QR codes next to each other saying scan this one on Apple, scan this one on Android. It's madness. So yeah, a single QR code which will auto detect which platform you're on and send you to the correct place for your device. So yep, simple as that. I think the quickest we've had from order to go live in the store was 6 days, maybe a world record, but that was the quickest turnaround for a library that said they wanted to go live and being in the store. And I think 2 of those days were a weekend, so yeah, that was a pretty fast one. Typically it's probably between 4 to 6 weeks, and a lot of that is just a lot of that time is the library administrator looking at the app, making changes, tweaking, testing, etc. So it doesn't need to be a long drawn out process. We can get the app live in the store as quickly as you would want it to be. And I think that brings us to the end.
Great, thank you so much, Andrew. It's always good to learn more about the apps and what's available. And I can't even imagine having 2 QR codes next to each other for either Google Play or Apple. I mean, your phone wouldn't know which one to pick up if you hold it too close.
Exactly.
Yeah, good example there. So for everybody listening, we do have a couple of polls available for you. We're going to ask a couple questions of you. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, go ahead and any questions for us, please add them into the questions panel and we will get to those in just a minute. We have had a few come in so far, which I'll read off shortly. But our first poll is whether or not your library currently provides a mobile app for your students. Yes, no, possibly not now, but you have in the past, or maybe you have an app for your school, but not necessarily one that accommodates the library. So please go ahead and fill out that poll. Let us know where you currently stand with that. We have a few more questions coming in. That's great. So we'll give it just another moment. Andrew, I have to say, when you typed in Macbeth, I held my breath for a solid minute, hoping that no technology would break after that. It's bad luck to mention the Scottish play in a in a production setting. All right, that poll is finished. It looks like currently no, there is not a mobile app for the folks joining on the call today. Well, hopefully TLC Go gives you a couple of ideas for what you would be able to implement otherwise. Our next poll is about whether or not you would like more information from TLC. So when that hops up on the screen, if you have any questions about pricing, if you want to implement this, you just want more information, you would like to talk to somebody at TLC about implementing TLC Go, go ahead and hit that yes button and we will follow up with you after the webinar. So we'll leave that up for a short minute. And while that's there, I'm going to start going through some of these questions that have come in already. So the first one is, how does the catalog interface with third-party vendors like Hoopla and Overdrive? Can the content be accessed directly from TLC Go?
So right now we pick up the Mark 856 record from your catalog, and we link the user out to the e-content vendors such as Overdrive, Hoopla, Cloud Library, Access 360, etc. We currently have in development some connectors for those different e-content vendors, and within the next 2 to 3 months, hopefully by the end of Q1 at the latest, we'll have direct integration with those vendors. And what that will mean is you'll be able to search, check out, place holds, and see in your account panel any checkouts and holds that you have from any of those e-content vendors. In terms of accessing the content directly within TLC Go, that really depends on the e-content vendor. So with Hoopla and Cloud Library, that's not possible. You have to go out to their app. So even though you can do the discovery step, which is finding content, you can do the circulation or the transactional step, which is checking things out. The actual consumption step still has to happen in their app. With some of the vendors, we can do the consumption step within your app as well. So within TLC Go, you'll be able to open up any Overdrive content or any Access 360 content directly within the app. It essentially pops up a little window allowing you to consume that content. So again, it really depends on the e-content vendor and the DRM platform that they're using in the back end, which has an impact on that.
Great, thank you. And then the next question is, what features or enhancements are available to those individuals who may need help with visual, hearing, and or physical handicaps? So what kind of accessibility features are available?
Yeah, so we get this a lot, obviously, because the apps and the devices and the operating systems that they run on are really great in terms of accessibility. So rather than try and build something ourselves, what we did is we built the apps to work really seamlessly with the platforms with iOS and Android. So if you've got your device set to a large text size, the text size in the app will scale up, and it will change subtly when you get to a really large text size. Some of the icons may drop off, or some of the extended text would drop off. When you get to the biggest text sizes, kind of 200–300% text sizes, the app will support it. I've got to say, it looks really odd if you're not used to that, but yeah, it does support those large text sizes. In terms of screen reading, the text to speech is fully supported in the app as well. So everything within the app has either a text alternative, or it's set to be hidden if it's not something that should be read out. Sometimes the dividers between different sections, you see the screen reader would say divider, which is obviously not ideal when you're using a screen reader, because it's things that shouldn't be read out because it's not content. So the app is really designed to work really well with those features of the different platforms, be it if you have a visual impairment, uh, or you are, for those that have no sight whatsoever, it will work really well with the screen readers as well.
Yeah, that's always important to be able to provide that access to everybody. Thank you for that answer. Someone, quick comment, it would be great to automatically pull in our OPAC banners to the app. I hope they work that out. One vote for that.
Yep,
Um,
working on that.
one question, do students need to, it sounds like students need to bring their own devices. What devices does this all work with? And I'm going to add a question that came in last week, which is what size does the app take up on the device itself?
Sure. So students don't necessarily need to bring their own devices. If you provide devices for the students, then they can use it on a shared device. The only thing is obviously to remember to sign out of your account when you're done using it. We have a number of examples where libraries will install the app on shared tablets that are embedded into furniture or in kiosk type environments where people can come up and use the app, and then just remember to sign out of the app. We are actually working on an addition for specifically for libraries that are using it in that way. As I said, it was something that was kind of that we didn't suggest. It was a library was already using it in this way, but we're working on an enhancement that will auto time out an account if you don't touch the app for a period of time for those specific devices if you're running it in a kiosk mode. Um, in terms of devices it can run on, so any iOS device, be it iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, even going back, I think, to iOS 10, which is obviously a good few years back now, and that obviously extends the support for the devices that can run on way back. I currently have it running on an iPhone 5 or 5, 6, I think actually. Um, I have it running on a 5, but I think 6 is possibly the oldest that's properly supported by Apple now. So it can go way back on iOS devices. The only slight wrinkle to that is self-check. To run self-check with RFID, you have to have an iPhone 7 or later, which again is now, I think, 5 or 6 years old. So it's going back a little bit in terms of support now. On Android, it will support all the way back to Android version 5. I think we're on 11 at the moment. So that's going back a good few years and quite a lot of really quite old devices now. So it should really support way, way back. It's not just the latest devices that we support the app on. In terms of
Perfect.
file size and the amount of space that it uses on the app, on the device, that's a really great question that a lot of people don't tend to think about, and it's something that we really pride ourselves on compared to a lot of our competition. The app itself is generally between a 5 and a 15 megabyte download from the store, so it's really tiny compared to a lot of apps. And that variation between 5 and 15 megs really depends on how complex and how interesting your splash screen graphics are on the app. So if you've got a lot of patterns going on in your background, it will push that size up. I think the biggest we've got is probably between 15 and 20 megs, and they had a really, really complicated and patterned background, which I wouldn't really recommend from an accessibility perspective. We do see other library apps out there in the field that are, upwards of 60, 80, 100, 200 megs. Which is kind of mind-boggling how big they are. But ours are really, really quite tight and as small as possible. So it really shouldn't take up too much space on your device, especially if you're working with hard to reach or underserved communities where the devices may be older, and we want to make sure that the access to the library and to the library services are as wide as possible.
Yeah, that 15 megabytes really isn't a whole lot either. So even with the most complex graphics, that's incredible to be able to have that little space taken up. We did get a question in, which I will answer, about whether or not this webinar is being archived, and the answer is always yes. We record all of our webinars. The one that we recorded last week is available today. This webinar will be available starting tomorrow at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. You'll also get an email following up for the person that asked that, letting you know that it's available. There are a few more questions in here. We're going to go all the way to the end of the hour. I'm going to keep going down the list. So someone wants to know whether or not there is a listserv or something similar for library admins to participate in. And I'll speak to this from the TLC side, which is that we can definitely take that back to our teams and look into that from our community perspective and from our listserv side for other TLC customers using it. But what about Andrew, on your side for Solus? Do you have other libraries out there in the world participating in some sort of forum or community platform?
We don't. That's a really great suggestion, actually. We don't currently have a listserv set up for the app customers. But yeah, if there's anything that TLC have currently in terms of that type of feature, then we'd be really grateful and would be excited to participate in that.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. We'll definitely pass that along to our teams and get that going. And then a follow-up to that is who's the support contact for library administrators during the initial setup? Does it go through TLC or Solus, and how do they submit support tickets?
So that will be fully integrated with the existing TLC model. So it would be through TLC that you would be submitting tickets and during the initial setup and handover. So we'll be fully involved as Solus, but it would be part of your standard support and setup arrangements with TLC. And that's one of the really great things about this this relationship that TLC and Solus have, is that it allows libraries to have a single point of contact and a single person or a single arrangement in terms of both their ILS and their app, rather than having multiple vendors to deal with and it being a kind of a three-party conversation and all that sort of stuff, which you may find with our other app vendors out there. So it will be a nice, consistent and seamless approach with TLC.
Yeah, and that's also one of the things that we really like working with Solus for as well, that partnership too. So, our customers, you come to us, we'll get you into the right hands and make sure that we get your questions answered appropriately. A couple more questions that have come in. Does the app icon reflect the library branding? You did touch on that, but would you mind repeating a little bit of it as well?
Sure. Yeah, so the app icon that goes on your device home screen, would reflect the branding that would appear in the store. So it's a really great question. If you're a single library, then it would be your single library's branding. If you're in a district or consortium environment, then it would be the district or consortium branding that would be on your icon. So it's the root branding, effectively, the one that you see when you're looking in the store, you're searching in the store. That's the branding that you would see on your icon on your device home screen.
Perfect. And then is single sign-on supported for logging in?
So the app platform does support CAS and SAML, single sign-on. I don't think we've bottomed that out in terms of that authentication process with library.solution for schools, but the app does have support for that. So that's definitely something we can take a look at and look to support. It would be great to know which single sign-on provider you're looking at, or federated login provider, be it SAML or CAS or OpenAuth or Microsoft, or there's a lot of them out there. But yeah, it'd be really great to take a look at that, because we do have support for some in there, but we're adding additional support all the time.
Great. That was the last question that has come in. I'm going to vamp for another 5 minutes in case someone has another question that they're currently typing. This is a good reminder that if you haven't yet, please be sure to download the handouts that are available to you. There's a whole brochure available about TLC Go. And also, if you want more information, we'll be reaching out following the webinar. We did get a comment. Ruth, I see you. You say, we love TLC support. TLC support loves you too. We're happy to be here for you. I'll also say we do have a couple of attendees joining from public libraries as well. So I'll go ahead and reiterate that TLC Go is available for all TLC integrated library systems. That includes CARL, that includes library.solution, and library.solution for schools. So if you are interested, I know we talked more about the school side today, but it does work for our other systems. So if you're interested, please reach out. We are so happy to provide more information for you. I don't see any other questions that have come in yet, so I'll go ahead and talk about our next webinar. Not this month, but next month, we are going to be celebrating our Modern Library Award that we have received for CARL Connect Discovery. We are going to be participating in a panel talking all about it. It is a Ferberized catalog, very interesting stuff. And if you want to learn all about it, it is currently available on the website to register for, which is tlcdelivers.com/webinars. And yes, they do pay me every time I say that URL in a webinar. Just kidding. Andrew, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide on the presentation, that'll pop up that webinar URL as well for those who missed it. And again, this is recorded. We got several requests last week for people who wanted to pass this along to their colleagues. It will be available starting tomorrow at, yes, that same URL. So please be sure to check it out. But otherwise, it looks like that's the last of the questions. You can always reach us at info@tlcdelivers.com if you think of something as soon as we end this. But otherwise, thank you so much, Andrew, for your time today. I know it's getting late over in Greenwich Mean Time, so we appreciate you being able to join.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. Thank you, everybody. We will see you on the next webinar.